Things are looking up for Manchester United at the moment, but it's been quite a few years since they sat atop the summit of the Premier League. That was during Sir Alex Ferguson's last year as a Premier League manager. But we all know what happened to him since then, but what about the players? Well, that's what we're going to look at today with Alex Ferguson's final starting 11 on his final Premier League season. So back in 2012-13, and actually David De Gea was still in goal. It's been a long time since then, and he's still making these mistakes every so often, and still there are questions about whether or not he is the main man in goal for United. Now, this season has actually seen Dean Henderson put on some fantastic performances for Sheffield United, so De Gea could finally find his place under threat. In fact, he was actually going to move to Real Madrid if it wasn't for, apparently, an error with a fax machine. Anyway, during the 2012-13 season, he did start the majority of the games, but not actually that many for a first choice keeper. He played in 28 and the other 10 were filled by Anders Lindegaard. Moving into the defence, and the right back spot was actually held by Rafael. Now, you probably remember him as the one who also had a twin brother called Fabio, who had a rather less than successful career. In fact, the major flashpoint from those two was the day that Fabio got booked for a foul that Rafael had actually committed. He did spend most of the season at right back, as afterwards it was Antonio Valencia who would eventually move back and take that position. After Manchester United though, he went to Lyon, and now after a few years of not playing so many games recently, it looks like he'll be heading back to his native Brazil to see out the rest of his career. Into the middle though, and Nemanja Vidic wasn't actually one of the main centre-backs that season, basically due to injury. One of them was Javier Hernandez, a stalwart at Manchester United, and actually had a fantastic campaign despite being 35 or 36 years old. In fact, he was so good that it looked like he could play on for a few more seasons, when in fact, it really caught up with him ever so slightly. I mean, he spent the last year of his career at QPR, and that was 1 year too many. Since then, he tried to become a boxer. That didn't work out, but now he is brilliant on TV whilst being a football pundit. So alongside him, we've already seen there was no Nemanja Vidic. Chris Smalling and Phil Jones were good young internationals who weren't quite ready to play the majority of the season, but instead, there was Jonny Evans. Honestly, I'm going for one of the most underrated centre-backs the Premier League has ever seen. Like, it was just a thing of Fergie's. He'd have players who weren't necessarily the greatest or the headline grabbers, but still made them into champions. Jonny Evans was never going to be number one at Manchester United, even when he was. Like, if there was still one defender to go out the squad when the likes of Ferdinand or Vidic or whoever else were ready to play, Evans would probably be the one who'd give up his position. Anyway, he moved to West Brom a few years later, and 3 years of being a solid starting centre-back at West Brom got him moved to Leicester, where now he's proving that at even age 32, he is a top-class centre-back in the Premier League for a team that's pushing for the Champions League places, and long may it continue. Moving into left-back though, and someone whose career just went from the crazy to the downright bizarre, that is Patrice Evra. A legacy at Manchester United is definitely something that he created. He had some brilliant years there, winning all sorts of trophies. This followed by 3 seasons at Juventus and, well, picking up the obligatory trophies that you pick up when you're playing for Juventus in Serie A. But after that, things just went a little bit wild. First off, he moved to Marseille, where he was sacked after kung fu kicking a fan during a warm-up who was giving him a bit of grief. About a few weeks after that, he decided to release a video on Instagram of him licking a raw chicken, which, just when you thought things couldn't get any weirder, they do, because he then decided to go and join West Ham. How bizarre. Anyway, 5 appearances for West Ham, and then spent a year as a free agent before finally calling it quits on his career. In fact, the last thing that was heard about Patrice Evra is that he's completing his coaching badges with Manchester United's academy sides. Moving into midfield, and on the right-hand side, it's the man who actually kept Nani out of the Manchester United team and really spelled his end at the top level at Manchester United. It's Antonio Valencia. Now, I mentioned it earlier when talking about Rafael, that after this season, in the post-Fergie era, Valencia moved to a right-back. Now, it's actually quite easy to forget that he had a phenomenal career at United. He spent almost 10 years at the club. That's insane for someone who actually ended up club captain as well, but never really, let's say, hit the heights or became the spectacle that certain other players are at United, especially when attacking down that right-hand side. He was kind of doing a solid job, had equal attacking and defensive work rate, and always put in a shift, just never really a headline grabber. Anyway, since then, Valencia has moved back to his native Ecuador, where he's joined Quito, who actually, with him in the side, managed to win the inaugural 2019 Ecuador Cup. Into the centre midfield now, and one of the most underappreciated players of his generation, maybe of all time in the Premier League, Michael Carrick, the so-called Rolls-Royce of the Manchester United team. He was there for so long, 12 years in fact, that he was still playing a brilliant role at age 37. This is testament to Michael Carrick's attributes and basically the fact that he was a phenomenal passer. Throughout his career, he was never a box-to-box engine. He was never an aggressive kind of player or someone who'd carry the ball throughout the Manchester United midfield. He was just a phenomenal passer. In fact, when he joined the club, him and Paul Scholes hit it off, and they were a brilliant midfield pivot, which brought Alex Ferguson's side so much success. Carrick went on to play for a fair few more years and kind of dipped under Van Gaal before rising up again and really having a strong end to his career. I'm going to put it out there, for me, he is the most underrated English midfielder ever. I'm going to leave a poll right here so you guys can have your say as well. But for me, it's just, he's criminally underrated. Anyway, since retiring, Michael Carrick has gone on to be assistant manager as well and work on his coaching badges, much like Patrice Evra. Now, alongside him in central midfield, and this is one for the ages, no Shinji Kagawa, an elderly Paul Scholes, elderly in football terms, not in actual age. It was Tom Cleverley who made the most appearances out of any other central midfielder bar Michael Carrick. By the way, if you haven't figured that out by now, that's what I'm going off. This is the team with the most appearances in their given position for the whole 2012-13 campaign. Tom Cleverley, just like Johnny Evans, is another one who absolutely fits the Sir Alex Ferguson bill. He does exactly what the team need him to do, but individually, there's no way he was going to be lighting up any other team. I mean, this is evident in the fact that he moved to Everton because that's what you do when you leave Manchester United. I mean, no Premier League transfer window is complete without an older or a poorer Manchester United player moving to Everton. From there, he took a step down to Watford, and from there, it looks like he's really not playing much either. I mean, Cleverley's individual ability just does not scream someone who's starting most weeks in a title-winning side, but yet, that was just the magic of Sir Alex Ferguson. So on the left-hand side now, and you've got to be a pretty good player to keep Ryan Giggs out of the side, even an aging Ryan Giggs, and that is exactly what Ashley Young did. In fact, he really did follow the career path of Antonio Valencia. Brilliant at the wing, and as he got a little bit older, slowly moved to fullback. I've never seen someone so adept at playing on the left and the right-hand side as well, even in a defensive unit. I mean, when you look at Ashley Young, you think he's a brilliant winger. You'd never put him as a great left-back, but still, he's done so well there that he managed to carve out a really long career at Manchester United, and even at the age of 34, get a pretty good move to Inter Milan in Serie A. Personally, I don't think that's going to last too long, maybe 18 months to 2 years, and then he'll head back to England or to the MLS for one final club before he winds down his successful career. So moving to the out front position, and first off, definitely the signing of the season, Robin van Persie. Appeared in every single Premier League game, scored 26 goals, and on top of this, a hat-trick in the game which saw them crowned champions in their 3-0 victory at home to Aston Villa. And on top of this, they bought him from their rivals Arsenal for, well, not exactly the craziest fee. I mean, after that, he had a few good seasons at United, followed by a few good seasons at Fenerbahce, and finally, a retirement tour as he moved back to his first club, Feyenoord. Van Persie will definitely go down as one of the best strikers to ever play the game, with over 300 club and country goals in over 500 career appearances. And alongside him, briefly, was Javier Hernandez. Also briefly was a young and exciting Danny Welbeck, but mainly it was Wayne Rooney, of course, because he just epitomised Manchester United for like a decade. There were brilliant points throughout the season. There was the brace scored away at Manchester City in a 3-2 victory, and there was also the stunning pass which led to Robin van Persie's volley in that game against Aston Villa when they won the title. But to end it all off, he handed in a transfer request. Now, there was just something not quite right with Rooney for majority of the season, despite the fact he was still pretty good on the pitch. He obviously didn't get his move away and actually stayed at United for another 4 years, where he then went to Everton and proved that he wasn't really up to it in the Premier League, before proving that he was still a quality player in the MLS with DC United, and now he's back at Derby County and really helping them push for promotion to the Premier League. It seems like the Championship, or maybe a lower league Premier League team, is probably where Wayne Rooney has found his home. Not only is he brilliant on the pitch at Derby, but he's also really helping a lot of the younger players with all the experience he's accrued over his fantastic career. So there you have it, the starting 11 for the majority of Sir Alex Ferguson's final season at Manchester United. The final of an illustrious career which saw him pick up so many trophies. He's probably the greatest manager of all time. That debate is for a whole nother video. But what do you guys think? How well do you think this Premier League Manchester United team would do now without Alex Ferguson in charge? Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.